out of all the things that you procure, freight to me has always been one of the more challenging things to compare apples to apples. And it gets all the way back to what rate set are we using? What discount level are we applying? What class are we utilizing to ship this freight, right? And this is more LTL than, small pack, those types of things. But there's differences in that too.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the WBS Podcast. I'm Sam Gupta, your host and principal consultant at the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm Elevate IQ. When considering the array of choices in TMS software, the options are abundant. TMS systems exist that cater to diverse modes and geographies alongside those tailored for specific business models. On the surface, distinguishing between them may prove challenging. If you are reviewing TMS options, you are likely to come across Shipwell, especially in the NetSuite and MS Dynamics ecosystems. So what are Shipwell's capabilities and how does it measure up against other supply chain suites in the market? In today's episode, we invited a panel of industry experts for a live discussion on LinkedIn to conduct an independent review of Shipwell's capabilities. We covered many grounds, including their unique capabilities with machine learning and scheduling capabilities, considering the demand and supply from their network. We also discussed the differences of their presence in various ecosystems such as NetSuite and MS Dynamics ecosystems. With that, let's get to the conversation. Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's show. And if you're joining for the first time, this is part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. We review one vendor or the solution. For today, we have yet another TMS solution. I don't know how many of them are there, to be completely honest. I'm just blown away. And
there's a cornucopia of them, Sam.
And the new one that we review, Andy, and that's always better than the previous one. And so I'm like, okay, I'm shopping around here and always confused how many options are there, to be completely honest. And by the way, I think we have had some issues in going live. Hopefully we are okay right now. I don't know if you are able to check, Dave or Andy. So hopefully we are live right now.
Looks like we're good.
Okay, perfect, guys. Awesome. So we are going to start with everybody's intros first, and then we'll dig right into Shipwell, which is going to be the platform that we are going to be reviewing today. So quickly about me, Sam Gupta, principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent ERP and digital transformation consulting firm. On that note, Dave, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Yeah, happy to. Thanks, Sam. Hey, everybody. My name is Dave Chrysler, and I own a operations consulting business working with leaders to help them create and optimize their systems and come to you with more than 25 years of various operational leadership roles throughout my career. So excited to be here with you and Andy tonight. Thanks for having me.
Okay, amazing. Thank you much, Dave. And I always keep, best for the last. Andy, would you like to introduce yourself next?
I don't know about that, but my name's Andy Pratico. I've been involved in ERP software with manufacturers all my life, and I'm always humbled by my partners in crime, Dave and Sam. I'm just the pretty face here.
You are the pretty face. We need everything, Andy. We need pretty faces. We need pretty faces of these TMS solutions.
That is certainly true.
Awesome, guys. Always a pleasure to have you all and learning from your insights. So I'll start with the quick briefing, and then obviously I want to hear your experiences as well. If you guys have come across these guys, if you have heard from any of the users, if you have any sort of commentary there. We'll discuss that. So Shipwell is a very interesting platform as well, to be completely honest. And they are in that mid-market TMS space. So overall, I guess, just in terms of the buckets that we review, so these guys fit in that TMS bucket. Uh, but I mean, in TMS as well, there could be many different layers. So for the most part, once they are going to outgrow those PayStat or process viewers of the world, then they would probably need something like this. The comparable here for these guys is going to be something like Mercury Gate, is probably the closest comparison. Obviously, these guys have their own nuances as well in terms of how they are trying to position in the market. But NetSuite in general has a lot of really good TMS systems, to be completely. So this is in their ecosystem as well.
NetSuite, you mean as part of their apps or part of products they've actually built?
Their ecosystem is just humongous.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I mean, they have like one of the best products in the market in their ecosystem. That's a huge, huge, huge plus. And some of these products are not going to be in any other ecosystems. Sometimes they are only present in NetSuite, and these guys are also present in Microsoft, but not present in Microsoft. We'll discuss that as well. There are layers to it. Okay, so when I say present, meaning do they have native integration? And that native integration matters a lot. So sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So with Microsoft, just a very different integration the way they have, and it's a very new introduction in the Microsoft space. For the most part, these guys were present in the NetSuite. Yeah, and obviously, I mean, anybody who's going to be cloud native, real cloud native,
not fake cloud,
is definitely going to be in the NetSuite ecosystem for sure. Exactly, Andy. So yeah, these guys are definitely very pretty and pretty face and cloud native for sure. So the other things that we discussed, and I think what we are going to find once we start digging into slides, is that they are going after the customers of Cubix. And I don't know whether you guys are familiar with the Cubix platform. That was also a very well penetrated mid-market centric TMS system. Trimble is the company that acquired. Obviously, we have reviewed Trimble as well. They have their own sort of multiple TMS systems in their portfolio. It's a massive, software company. Just like ERP vendors, they are going to be in consulting space as well. So they have several of them. They sort of acquired Cubix, but then they announced that they were going to shut that product down. But then finally they ended up spinning that off. So right now they might be selling right now Cubix, I guess. I mean, everybody was thinking that it was done, but maybe it is not. So these guys were actually targeting some of the Cubix customers. So that is the indication that these guys are going to be in that mid-market space as well. What else do we discuss? So we have already covered sort of the cloud native versus the other. We have spoken about the competition size. What other layers do we discuss, Andy, Dave?
Basic budget of these products. What's how big is the bread box?
Yeah, interesting point. I would say in between, somewhere mid-market. So it's not going to be very affordable, but it's also not going to be very expensive. I don't know, Dave.
Well, that's a good answer, Sam. I think the other thing that we kind of generally talk about in digging through their documentation, these guys seem to be kind of clearly positioned in terms of where they sit. They appear to be kind of true TMS, and some of the other solutions that we've looked at could be more centered around TMS, but TMS for 3PLs, 4PLs, where this seems pretty specific in terms of where it fits. So I kind of like that perspective with these guys.
Yeah, I think you bring up very good point, and in fact, I mean that is another layer that we generally touch. Anybody who's going to be in NetSuite ecosystem in general, they are going to be slightly more commerce centric, DTC, B2C. That's what NetSuite is really known for, to be completely honest. And any of the TMS systems that are going to be there, yes, they might do a little bit of 3PL, but for the most part, they are going to be very commerce centric. And that's what we saw. Let's say, for example, we discussed WMS systems such as Logiva. They are very well penetrated. Logiva, Mercury Gate, they sort of go hand in hand with respect to their integration alignment. And I don't know how well they align with Shipwell, But it's definitely, I mean, see, anybody who's going to be targeted in that NetSuite space, that is going to be very commerce friendly. So great point, Dave. Great point. Completely agree. Okay, if you guys don't have any other comments, then I'll move to the slides.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, guys. So here, number one, I mean, they are from Austin. So Austin has a lot of supply chain startups. SourceDay is obviously one of them, and they are also very well penetrated into that NetSuite ecosystem. So Austin is seeing a lot of startups, a lot of supply chain startups. They are probably going to have very similar characteristics as well. So here they are positioning it as TMS system. So obviously everybody's going to say they are all top rated, but cloud native is, they are definitely cloud native. That is for sure. If you look at their UI, the way their development is 100% cloud native. They were born in the cloud. You can clearly see that on their screens. So I wanted to touch on one point that I don't think we covered during the briefing, which is typically when we look at these TMS systems, we have been covering these three pillars, which is going to be your visibility plus execution plus network. And seems like even these guys have a little bit of network. But when you look at the network is not going to be as strong as your E2 Open or any other enterprise grade network. And when you don't have that, number one, you are not going to have all of the geographies. You are probably not going to have all of the modes. Even if they claim that, the data is not going to be as complete as you would think. So that's probably the layer that you probably need to be thinking about when you look at these TMS systems. Everybody's claiming that they have visibility plus execution plus network, but the size of the network matters a lot, and that drives how accurate your insights are going to be from the artificial intelligence and ML perspective. Here, your artificial intelligence, matters a lot. This is the space where artificial intelligence is really, really strong, and the power comes from data, and data you are going to get from the network. So again, make sure you do apple to apple comparison when you are looking at these networks, because right now everybody is trying to claim that they all have visibility, they all have network, but not everybody is going to be as complete as the platform. But obviously that's why you pay the price point as well.
Yeah, I think what's interesting about that too, Sam, we've seen kind of specific to that, we've seen some of these platforms, kind of announce those strategic partnerships and even in some cases acquisitions of some of these, larger data pools and some of that functionality. So it'd be interesting to see how that kind of model plays into the dynamics of something like this product, which is, kind of more in that, not necessarily startup, but kind of those early growth stage companies that are actively trying to penetrate, and how they're going to be able to compete from that data centric standpoint. They're doing a lot of really amazing things, but it'll be interesting to see what the dynamics play out over time with those strategic partnerships from access to those data, both kind of data models, data sets, and to your point, the just the infrastructure.
Exactly. I think you bring a great point, and I think that's where politics is always there in the enterprise software space, right? So, but I mean, surprisingly enough, I mean, everybody is trying to integrate with everyone. So seems like most vendors have access to a lot of data, and they seem to be really cool with that, which is just mind blowing, because that's not how enterprise software space is supposed to work. Okay, you are supposed to compete. You are supposed to have rivals. Okay. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think these guys have access to as much data as you are going to see with platforms like Blue Yonder. Even Infor has access to some of the transportation data. E2 Open, obviously, they have their own network. So obviously, they are going to have far more data. I don't really believe that these guys are going to have as much network as well as data, compared to those enterprise platforms.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. By the way, the other point that I would like to touch on this slide is, the Gartner's positioning, the way they have positioned. So typically, in general, the way, at least that's been my experience. You guys can tell me if I'm off here. But my experience has been in reading a lot of Gartner quadrant. And obviously, they are trying to communicate. They're really good at what they do. The problem always is going to be in users who are reading, because they are not qualified to, because this is really complex. There are always layers to these things, to be completely honest. Okay, so here, one of the things that you will notice, the way Gartner likes to position any of the products. So number one, here we are looking at the transportation management system. This is going to be the execution component. Okay, that is what is key here. So they are not trying to compare based on your visibility capabilities or network. This is really for that execution component, and that's why the platforms that are going to be really strong in those execution capabilities are probably going to be listed here, and that is consistent with how we have evaluated these platforms as well. For example, let's say if you look at Oracle, the only reason why Oracle is so high is because of their execution capabilities. They are not going to have network. They might partner with some other folks, but for the most part, they don't have their own sort of network. They are probably going to rely on the other add-ons for visibility, but for the most part, the only reason Oracle is so ahead is because of those execution, the global execution capabilities. Now, if you look at Shipwell, they are somewhere in the top left. And typically, top left always with Gartner is going to be the products that are going to be slightly niche in their positioning. That's how Gartner works. Okay, niche meaning either they are going to be in a very specific market, or they have very narrow market, so they will not be positioned in the top right. Typically they will be positioned in the top left, and that's probably the reason why they have listed even Shipwell here, because right now, I mean, their market is kind of limited. It's not as broad as Oracle or SAP. They just don't have as much breadth that the other ones are going to have. For example, E2Open, if you look at, they are positioned in the right side because of that factor. So just one thing that I wanted to highlight. Now they are also listed with things like CH Robinson. You will find Trimble here. You will find Uber Freight here. And the only reason why they are listing there is because they have the capabilities, but they are very unique the way they work. So that's why they are typically in top left. Any more comments here, guys?
Well, it's interesting, and it's very astute to review these Gartner Magic Quadrants that way, because obviously you think the top right is where the ones you want to deal with, whereas like you're saying, these ones in the top left are really just industry specific or very very vertical type products.
They will have something unique to them. And that's where, I mean, quadrant is a model. I mean, the model can scale only so much, right? When you have so many different variables, I mean, what can you do? So, and Gartner is trying their best in trying to please everybody, I guess.
Well, I think though the real takeaway for the folks that are listening to this is gets back to the things that we talk about during a lot of these conversations. We have to understand what the business use case is and identify potential. We need to shortlist solutions based upon that, not necessarily an independent review or evaluation that is based on a very wide range of factors. Back to your point, Sam. I mean, there could be, very legitimate reasons to be targeting this versus, CH Robinson's versus Oracle. But again, just relying. And I know some folks do that. They look at this and say like, oh, I've now shortlisted my stack, and unfortunately are going to find some trouble when they get a little further down the road.
Yeah, you can as well toss a coin, I guess, and pray. I mean, that could work as well too. Yeah. In any case, okay, let's move to the next slide. So here, as I had highlighted in my previous commentary, that they are going after Cubics, and Cubics is a very mid-market centric platform, and that's why they are going after them. So obviously, based on this, you can deduct that their positioning is very mid-market centric. We have many different indications here that, what is their sweet spot? What is their target market? So here they are definitely going after them, and Cubics was a very mid-market centric solution. Okay, so now this is very interesting, and I think this is coming from one of their data sheet, I believe. So here, this is NetSuite one. So one of the things that you are going to find in this particular case is the way they price their product, which is very unique as well. And sometimes there could be layers to this. Okay. So here they are saying if firms are spending more than $5 million on freight annually, they are pricing based on that. And that could be another indication that you can find which customers are going to be the right fit for them. Okay. So here they are saying who uses it. They are saying firms are spending more than $5 million on freight, which is not obviously revenue. This is going to be substantial amount of, I don't know. I mean, if you have any sort of ratio, Dave, in your experience, revenue to freight ratio, especially for the product companies, I mean, that's probably going to be substantial, right? That is probably going to be highly correlated. I don't know, how much services are. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's kind of tough to put into a bucket that way, just because there's such a vast difference. So it's very challenging to kind of say it's a specific percentage. It's kind of all over the place.
Exactly. And when you say 5 million freight, I mean, freight is going to be a very small portion of the product price itself. I don't know if that is ever going to be higher than the product price. That would not make sense, I guess. Right? You would never pay higher for shipping than the product price itself. So obviously that is probably going to be maybe 2%, 3%, that you would pay for freight. So this is a decent size. These are decent size company, and they are going to be spending, 5 million on freight.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, with the, when I'm talking to folks kind of in that world, generally when they're talking mid-market, they're down to 1 and 2 million generally. So I mean, this is significantly bigger. I would say true mid-market, if not upper mid-market, if we're just looking at that.
Exactly. And then they have some more commentary here in terms of the industry. So food and beverage manufacturers, they are targeting. And food and beverage, we have seen that food and beverage manufacturers are probably going to have very unique TMS requirements as well. And that's why if you look at the food and beverage space, you're going to find players like C.H. Robinson, very, very, very well penetrated in that space. They really live and breathe in that space. Who else do we have for food and beverage overall from the TMS perspective? I don't know whether you guys recall or not overall in terms of the ones that we have reviewed so far. I can remember some of the.
I don't recall the specifics down to that level, Sam.
Elemica, I believe. Go ahead, Andy.
I was going to say, just back to what the screen's all about. 5 million on freight annually. These are substantial companies. Like, my goodness, that's what, 1% of their business, 1% of their revenue.
And so I would be careful here, Andy. Just one thing. I mean, see, if you compare manufacturer versus distributors versus retailers. In general, the distributors are going to have far more, spend.
You're right.
Manufacturers, they don't even ship.
You're right.
That's why I say it's too challenging to kind of put a percentage, of what that really means in terms of, company revenue, but still significant, to your point, Andy, and yours, Sam, significantly sized businesses targeting.
So here they are saying, CPG manufacturers and distributors, mid-sized manufacturers and industrial supply is what they are targeting. Building products manufacturers and distributors, we have seen in these spaces as well. We are going to find a lot of products. There are a lot of nuances even in the building product space. Sometimes, I mean, you have to have the ERP integration in this particular case. Very, very, very tight integration. And that's why you have products such as your, Epicor, Bistrack, Lumbertrack, all of those are present in that building supply space, and they offer these TMS capabilities as part of the product itself.
Built in,
exactly. Because the scheduling, even the way their POD process works, to be completely honest, it's very, very, very different. I mean, if you are going to have very external TMS component, it's not going to work in those industries. So I don't know how tight the integration is, for example, of this product with NetSuite, but you would definitely require very tight integration of your WMS, TMS in some industries, especially building supply. Their POD process, the whole, what is that called? The dispatch to deliver, right? Dispatch to deliver, right? Yes. Dispatch to deliver, right? Process, that gets very involved, very deep. And most of the ERP, they don't even worry about once you are out of my dock, then take over whoever is there. A lot of ERP systems, but that process could be very involved as well, depending upon the. Here they are saying shipping operations have outgrown spreadsheets and legacy software tools. Obviously there's going to be a little bit of leap from this point to $5 million in freight in my mind. Orders take more truckload, LTL, and parcel shipments than ever before. Shipment visibility is poor and customers are frustrated. Teams struggle to improve performance with the current shipping systems. Freight spending has mushroomed, but data, that all is not much intel there. Shipwell pricing is based on shipment volumes or total annual freight spend. And the way their pricing is done, it's very commerce-y. Most of the commerce platforms, anybody who's going to be in Shopify ecosystem, and in fact, I mean, NetSuite, Shopify, they are very, 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 they overlap a lot in general. Okay. So Shopify is very commerce focused. NetSuite is very commerce focused. And here we are talking about the pricing, any commerce platforms, regardless of ERP, any other ERP, commerce add-ons, TMS, WMS, they all are going to be pricing based on consumption based. And consumption based pricing gets very tricky in general to assess how much you are going to pay at the end of the day. There are far more layers. It's very complicated in general. And I'm always scared of consumption based pricing. But these guys are definitely pricing based on that. Sometimes that could work in your favor, but sometimes it could also fire back pretty bad. Highly affordable for mid-market companies offering enterprise shipping capabilities at dramatically lower TCO. Number one, I don't think you are going to find enterprise capabilities in this. Affordable could be questionable depending upon where you are, I guess. Most likely it is going to be extremely pricey. Most of the companies that price based on consumption based, they do end up being extremely pricey in my personal, in general. They are saying they were able to save 5 to 15% freight spend savings. And the only reason why they are able to do that is because they have network, just like any other, even I guess, space jets of the world are going to claim that they have network, right? Because technically they have network. And you are definitely able to save something because of that network. But at the same time, I guess these guys are going to have their AI and ML component as well. And that could be the reason why they are able to save. So there are deeper capabilities that we'll discuss. Okay, so here Shipwell does have built for NetSuite status. And typically what that means is that they are native to NetSuite. NetSuite has certified them that you are going to get native NetSuite experience with this. So that's a huge plus for a lot of industries if they have that, even though it is going to be add-on, but at least it's going to have the native NetSuite experience. Okay, if you guys don't have any other comments, I have one comment from the audience, so we'll take that. Anders Green, follow him, ANDERS GREN. He is saying on-demand freight cost comparisons. I would love to see some graphs on this that included money saved by picking from offered shippers and also the extra cost to manage interacting with more shipping suppliers, account payments, tracking lost on present it all on a sliding scale of the size of the operation. There must be a tipping point. Huh. Interesting comment. Honestly speaking, Anders, in general, with these tools, you do save a lot. And I don't know if your comment related to account payments tracking lost stuff is going to be relevant here in general, because you automate a lot with these platforms. Sometimes they are able to automate your invoice, the whole bill of lading interaction, any of the reconciliation that you are going to do. So it's far more help in my experience in general. Dave, Andy, I don't know if you have different experience, but these tools do have real value, to be completely honest.
Yeah, I mean, there's power in, connecting and building out that network, right? Whether you kind of do that through a subcontract or otherwise, the more that you can control the integration between those systems, the more you end up capturing from a margin perspective for these companies, because it's really incremental savings, right? So if they're able to pass on a significant amount of savings to the end user, of this solution, they feel like they're getting the whatever we saw, the 5 to 15%, they're, loving life. And in reality, this is just another way for these companies to capture margin as they build out those infrastructure plays. And so it's in their best interest to continue building that out, to continue integrating, to continue to make the rest of the process integrated and seamless from a user perspective, because then everybody wins. And if you pay attention to a lot of these solutions, you start to see that they're charging based on spend, right? So it's all a part of the kind of master plan, if you will.
Yeah.
From a business model standpoint, it's kind of genius, honestly.
It is genius. And in fact, sometimes, as part of the ERP community, to be completely honest, ERP never has that kind of advantage. Okay. These tools are going to have far more advantage. And because of that reason, sometimes, companies end up creating their ERPs inside TMS and WMS systems, to be completely honest. Okay. Because it's going to be much easier for them to be able to create a business case for these tools, because you have real tangible operational savings. Everybody's going to understand. And once they understand, then they end up creating the processes, even though that's not going to be a natural home for them. And sometimes they struggle because of that, to be completely honest. But overall, buying something like this, anything that is going to have a network, it's easy. It's really easy to. Any other comments, guys?
Well, so we're saying that this product is not natively built for NetSuite.
It is built for NetSuite. I mean, they have the certification for that. I mean, that's what we saw on the
Okay,
previous slide. Yeah,
Yeah.
built
right.
for NetSuite. Yeah.
But now we're saying that it's integrated to finance and operation, D365.
So they are present in both ecosystems. So they are present in NetSuite, plus
Okay.
but they are
I,
not going to
okay.
have built for Microsoft FNO status in Microsoft. So each integration and each product that you are present in, your experience may differ. So that's where you need to read between the lines. So here with NetSuite, that's their go-to platform. That was their bread and butter always.
Right. Okay. I was hearing.
Perfect. Thank you
Well,
so much
yeah.
for the clarification. Yeah.
Yeah, on the next slide, Sam, it'd be good to clarify because there is a note here saying they are not natively built for NetSuite.
Yeah,
So
that's what I read. But
yeah,
So okay, so where are you reading that? Sorry, I missed that probably then.
Your
right
balloon
here
on the right.
in this upper right hand bubble, it says in the second sentence there, it
Oh,
says
okay. So that's our fault. Okay, so meaning
yeah,
that's on
type.
me.
Okay,
That's a typo. Okay, so
okay.
please don't read that. Please don't see it.
Okay. Well,
Okay, they are
sorry.
definitely they are definitely natively built for NetSuite. Okay, the Microsoft 365 Finance and Operations is going to have very different integration that is not going to be natively built. Okay, in this particular
Okay.
case,
So it's okay. I was reading it the opposite way. Okay.
yeah, and again, I am at fault here because this is a typo. So please don't pay attention to that. Okay, so they are definitely natively built for NetSuite, but with Microsoft integration, they are going to have another company involved that is called NMB Solution, and it's not very
Oh,
clear
now I
in
got
terms
it.
of in terms of which integration NMB is going to have and what your Shipwell is going to carry. So there are always 2 or 3 different pieces with every single integration. And with TMS, you could have more because you will require a lot more gateways in general. So in this, they are saying in partnership with NMB Solutions, a Microsoft Gold Business Applications Partner, which is a VAR, the gateway for TMS provides secure, real-time, and easy to manage integrations for Microsoft Dynamics 365 Finance and Supply Chain into Shipwell's award-winning platform. So for the most part, I think the IP is going to be split in my mind. Okay, so half of that is probably going to be owned by your Shipwell, and the other piece is going to be owned by NMB. So you are tightly coupling with a lot of vendors there if you are going to go for this IP. And obviously, it's not going to be as native experience, I guess. But again, you need expert to be able to vet these things. You will never be able to verify if you're simply looking at the demo. There's no way you can find these. So here they are saying fully connected logistics ecosystem with more than 500,000 carrier partners. Our platform uses machine learning to analyze over 100 million rows of real-time data every day, reducing waste and friction, delivering better business intelligence, and driving continuous improvement across our customer supply chains. Shipwell is proud to be recognized by industry experts like Gartner and 2024's next billion-dollar startup, and they do have very high valuation in billions of dollars, so which is a big deal, guys. Now they have 500,000 carrier partners. Now, if you compare 500,000 carrier partners, and it's very, very, very hard to compare these data points, to be completely honest. But in my mind, that is not a lot. Okay. Even Andy, I don't know whether you remember last one we reviewed Bloom Global, and
Yep.
they had literally every single real terminal integrated with their platform.
Yes.
But even then,
Quite
I
the
don't think
network.
even then they were not as big as E2 Open. So 500,000 looks big, but I don't think it's as big as E2 Open. It's very small data set in my mind. But I mean, even like pay sets of the world are probably going to have a lot of carriers in their network. So sometimes it's very hard to compare. And depending upon how big these carriers are, if this is going to be your all mom and pop, owner operator, then it's a different deal.
Yeah.
Then even if you have just one very big carrier. So again, read between the lines, I guess, whenever you're looking at these data points. Okay, if you guys don't have any other comments, I'll move to the next one. NMB's gateway for TMS in collaboration with Shipwell's TMS platform seamlessly integrate. Obviously, everything is seamless, but relatively speaking, this is not going to be as seamless as your NetSuite because NetSuite is natively built. So everything is relative. Here they are saying which provides a Microsoft certified 365 gateway for multimodal transportation. So this is where, so my take on this would be that TMS would be providing that multimodal transportation gateway, but here they are saying NMB provides that, right? And then they are saying parcel shipping and compliance solutions for Microsoft Dynamics 365 today announced their partnership, bringing Shipwell's modern best-in-class TMS to the Microsoft Dynamics 365 community. And I believe this article is from 2022, so which is a very recent development. This is also from 2022. So here they are saying consolidation and route planning, a proprietary algorithm consolidates shipments into the most cost-efficient routes and modes while adhering to delivery time windows. They do have a proprietary algorithm, and I don't know how strong that is going to be completely honest. But their algo does seem slightly different the way they are doing that, and that could be the reason why they are able to save 5 to 10%. So we'll dig into that. The load optimization feature, that's again the load optimization feature we saw with 3G TMS, if I remember correctly. But I mean, obviously, 3G TMS is a very legacy technology. It's not going to have as much scheduling firepower, especially from the AI and ML perspective. And when you look at the real load optimization algorithm, that gets very complex. If you are managing large network and trying to optimize, including your price as well as based on the network, so that gets very, very, very complex. So you do require a lot of firepower overall. So these guys do seem to have that load optimization feature, which is massive in any TMS system. Comments? No. Here, Shipwell, in industry leader is cloud-based shipping and logistics, announced today the release of the load optimization feature built directly into the company's transportation management system. And that could be the reason why they are $1 billion valuation. That's a big deal, guys. This feature helps customers significantly reduce the time it takes to plan and route shipments. Again, big deal. Especially if you are going to be DST, you are going to have that last mile leads, you are going to have POD processes. That's when this really shines, to be completely honest. And for any of the commerce, DST companies, CPG companies, B2C companies, that's their gold mine. That's where the money is for them. The money is not going to be in manufacturing or production or shop floor. For these guys, this is where their real money is. And the customer experience, by the way, especially if you're dealing with companies like Amazon and Walmart, they are brutal. They are brutal. You have to meet 48 hours timeline. And if you are going to take 48 hours just to plan your load, good luck with that.
In regards to those load optimization, I assume it's a combination of volume and weight. Is that right, Sam?
It's everything. So they are doing pricing
Everything.
plus, and they go ahead, Andy.
Pretty sophisticated.
Exactly. So they are looking at their entire network. So they are looking at, okay, you are trying to schedule this, and they are looking at their entire network. So pricing plus timing, it's a lot. It's a
delivery.
lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And then all of that, weather disruptions. I think you mentioned that last time, Andy.
The last one, yeah.
Exactly. It's not as predictable scheduling as your shop floor. Here, you are going to have factors that are out of your control. Right, Dave?
Well, we might have a discussion about how complex that can get.
Okay, let's do that. Yeah, I can see where you are going with that, I guess. I mean, especially labor. But here also
But I know what you're saying.
Both can have their own complexity. I completely agree. Okay, so here they are talking about by utilizing Shipwell's integrated pricing intelligence. Pricing intelligence is a big deal as well. The feature forecasts individual load rates and compares them to optimized routes to provide a clear picture of potential savings. So it's both. It's money and time, Andy. It's a big deal. Okay, so 2023 today announced its new integration with DAT Freight and Analytics. This collaboration enables Shipwell TMS customers with a DAT rate view subscription to access real-time dynamic ratings, providing valuable market rate intelligence and strategic decision-making support directly within their TMS screens. Now, you are going to question, okay, why are they integrating with these guys? They should have their own data. Most likely, they are going to have their own data. But for the most part, rating does get very complex in general. The more data that you are going to have, the better your rating algorithm is going to be. That's why, again, we have seen these integration with the other TMS platforms as well. And that could be the reason why these guys are integrating with them too. But again, I don't think they are integrating as much, just because number one, this is a smaller platform. The other bigger platforms are literally going after everybody who has data, and they are trying to optimize their algorithm. And these guys' case, they are not doing as much. Yeah. But I mean, if we are thinking that this is powerful, then you have no idea how powerful systems like E2 opens are, to be completely like, that's a massive power right there. So here they are saying integration marketplace and enables users to post loads, search for capacity, and enable the book now. Okay, so here we are looking at some of the integrations. So here they, from the ERP perspective, they are integrated with QuickBooks. They are also in NetSuite ecosystem. In general, most commerce ecosystems are probably going to have a lot of QuickBooks, a lot of NetSuite in general. And then they are also integrated with Uber Freight and Amazon Freight, which some people might argue that they have their own TMS systems. And yes, some companies might be using them as the TMS systems, but for the most part, in my mind, they are more of the 3PL providers. They are going to provide their system to integrate with their network, but for the most part, they are really bringing you third-party capacity from the carrier perspective. Obviously, they are going to bring their own rating algorithm as well, if you want to ship with their capacity. But in this particular case, architecturally speaking, their role is going to be more of 3PL, more from the carrier perspective. Any comment take? But in general, I mean, this is very consistent with any other TMS platforms where we see a lot of integrations in general.
So they're integrated to QuickBooks too?
They are definitely there, yes. So there are going to be, so the fascinating part,
that seems like an oxymoron, doesn't it?
So I'll tell you some layers there, to be completely honest, okay, Andy? So if you go to retail space, okay, B2C space, okay, some companies are going to be like literally like 100 million, okay, in revenue, okay, and that's why they are going to have 5 million in freight, to be completely honest, okay, but they are going to be running on QuickBooks. The reason why they are running on QuickBooks is because their business is running on a WMS platform and TMS platform, and the only role ERP plays there is your financial ledger. That's it.
Really? Okay.
Yep. That's why ERP does not have much of a role. So that's why they can run on QuickBooks, because for them, finance, they don't care. Because the transaction is this small, and if you are going to embed all of that unit costing and MRP, too slow. Too slow. It doesn't work. So you have to decouple the transactions in retail and B2C. So that's why it's very common to see this in in the B2C retail space. You will see a lot of Oracle in the retail space as well. Now we are seeing even Workday. I mean, Workday does not have any ERP capabilities, I guess, but we'll see Workday because they have the core GL and the financial module, and they can work in retail. There's no problem at all. Okay, so here, these are some of the screens, and obviously the screens are really pretty. They're cloud native, no questions there, really good technology. Here, yeah, so we have all of those detailed capabilities that we saw with some of the other TMS systems, which is going to be your NMFC code, subcodes. They are able to capture all of that. So this is going to be a real TMS platform, yeah, for a decent sized business. But again, I think when we reviewed the capabilities for food manufacturers, I don't think these guys are going to have as detailed capabilities as we saw with the other TMS systems that were really positioned for the food and beverage chemical. They get very complex overall in terms of the kind of tracking they are going to require. So I don't know how capable this is going to be for those spaces, but if you are doing pure B2C CPG, then this is probably okay. So this is how the carrier bits are going to be. I don't know how much you guys can see in this, but you are going to get these bits from every single carrier that you have in the network. So you are going to post your code, and that carriers are probably bidding. So you have the collaboration piece in that. You are getting their rate, and then they are trying to optimize using the whole load. So there's a lot going on there. There's a lot.
I'm sure, back to your kind of comment earlier, Andy, in terms of, the algorithm that they're using to generate, the request. I'm sure it's taking things into account all the way down to the layer of timing of load, availability, in terms of not just, kind of when does it need to arrive, but, hey, the load is available now versus it won't be available for 2 hours. That type of information would be my guess, just looking at some of these screens.
Yeah, and I'm going to have an interesting comment there, Dave, and I don't know, how that is going to come across, but I'll still mention that. Okay, and that is going to be in the legality of the things, especially in the cloud world. Now, you are hosting all of these customers on one platform. So technically you have access to all of their data, load, capacity. So you are able to do a lot more. in general, that's how they are able to look into the capacity, where everybody is. And that's how you are able to do it. Is it legal? I don't
Well,
know.
I think it's an I'm right there with you. I think the other, and I mentioned this earlier. I think the other kind of, I don't know what I don't want to say it's an issue, right? Because I wouldn't say necessarily that it is, but the other thing that kind of gives me pause, I'll put it
Yeah.
that way. The thing that gives me pause is, that they are accessing fees based on what total spend can be, right? And in a scenario where they control that for they control the data, to back to your point, they control the ability to deliver this price versus that price, this carrier versus that carrier, this option versus that option. They have a lot of touch to things that they're ultimately generating revenue through. And so anytime that happens, that it just gives me pause, because freight, I would say, generally speaking, and for a long time, even if you go down to an individual carrier, freight has always been, out of all the things that you procure, freight to me has always been one of the more challenging things to compare apples to apples. And it gets all the way back to what rate set are we using, what discount level are we applying, what class are we utilizing to ship this freight, right? And this is more LTL than small pack, those types of things. But there's differences in that too. So freight for me has always been kind of that bit of gray that you really have to understand at a detailed level. What are we talking about to understand? Am I comparing apples to apples?
Yeah, in those scenarios, the only advice I typically have for people is just keep swiping your credit card. Don't worry about anything because the only thing you are going to get is the stress.
It's all well until you wake up and see what your your monthly freight spend is.
I know, it's crazy, man. All right, guys. So I'll keep moving with the slides. I don't know, we have too much time right now, but we might not have as many slides either. So this is their view of the way they position the live view of where each of the shipments are going to be, which is, again, it's a big deal, guys. What you are able to see this through your entire supply chain. This is a big deal, including your last mile. But again, I think when you are comparing these platforms, when you are going to be comparing these platforms, what you need to make sure is what is the strength of their network and what all modes are going to be covered. Again, when you are looking at marketing materials, I guess it's going to be really confusing to find out what you are really getting out of the platform. Once you start using it, then only you'll come to know. So again, you need to look into the details in terms of what level of traceability that you are going to get, because they all are going to appear very similar in general in their capability. Okay, so some reviews here. This is coming from 2023. This is coming from Gartner. So here they are saying the way the platform recognizes items in a shipment currently does not support multiple items on a single pallet, okay, or in a single box. I would like for an analytic report to show regions. Parcel shipment into Canada isn't fully supported. So this is where you get the detail. Okay, when you look at the demo, it all looks very similar. But when you look at these reviews, now you sort of know, because this is coming from the users and they are running into challenges. So number one, they are going to be very US focused. Okay, they are not even present in Canada. So obviously they don't have that global perspective. Okay, and then you are always going to get into those batch scenarios. Okay, batch capabilities is where your smaller platforms differ from your slightly bigger platform. This is a mid-market platform, so my assumption is going to be that they are going to have some batch capabilities. But even then, since this is positioned more for B2C CPG, they are not going to have as deep batch B2B centric capabilities. That's why they are struggling with when you have multiple items on a single pallet or single box.
I think to that point, though, Sam, it's a good example. It's a good way to point out why we talk about what we do in terms of understanding your business and where it's at today, what's going on forward. Because some businesses won't need that level of detail because it exists in another technology, right? And for other businesses, depending on how they're utilizing this specific solution or potentially what they came from in terms of another TMS, that could be mission critical for them. So again, there are, as we talked about, there's so many different layers when you're looking at these things. That's a good example of that, where to your point, you would think, well, this should be stock functionality, but it may or may not be a need based on your business. But if it is, you certainly want to be mindful that it's not ready to handle that just yet, because that is a very recent review.
Yeah, could not agree more. Great point. And yes, you're right that that is a recent review. So obviously they definitely have that those deficiencies. This is where the other enterprise TMS can support. So I think that's my commentary on that. So I think we are good there. The next one that we have is with shipment bookings, such as the character limit in the address field. And that could be a big deal as well in the TMS solution. The way they are going to capture your addresses, that could be very different. We have seen these issues with the industry codes as well. Sometimes those characters are not going to be supported. Sometimes the way everybody is going to be coding these things could be different as well. So everybody might claim that they have the real-time traceability, but if you cannot talk to them, then there is no real-time traceability because there is no alignment in those industry codes. So that's where you get into these layers, which are very, very, very challenging. Then they are talking about EDI API updates with brokers and some LTL carriers. They have had some issues there, I guess. Better connection. The information does not always update automatically, but there could be a lot of layers there as well. It could be quality of integration, quality of your own internal data, and that could drive, why you are having. Okay, some more comments here. Product master data architecture for shipping cases versus pallet loads. So this is the validation from another user. There's the same point related to their batch capabilities. So it's not just one user complaining. Multiple users are, experiencing the same. And this is also from 2023. Limited ability to integrate directly into 3PL warehouse systems. What that means is their ecosystem is very limited right now. If you look at larger TMS systems, they are going to have a lot more integration. So again, when you are buying something like this, you are going to be very limited in terms of the integration. Then would like the ability to have invoices uploaded directly from the carriers via EDI. A lot of manual work when it comes to reconciling. So reconciliation, what is that? The freight audit, the invoice matching process from the TMS perspective. And by the way, just to be clear, these are freight invoices. These are not your sales invoices, okay? So there's a difference. But these capabilities are very enterprise grade. So technically, they don't have all of these capabilities. You are going to find this in Kerber, your Blue Yonder, Manhattan, as well as your E2 Open. For every multi-stop shipment, the pickup stop counts as stop one, which takes time getting used to shippers as well as carriers. Again, there are layers. They are focused on very, very, very small patch, and that's the reason why Gartner had ranked them, towards the left, because they are very limited. They just don't have as many capabilities as you would see in a true enterprise platform. We were on this one, or we were on this one. So one more. I don't know how much time we have. We are 6:28. How many comments do you guys have? Do you gonna go on one more slide or comments?
Sure.
Yeah.
One more? Okay, let's do it. Hard to implement with some of our drivers, language barrier with Spanish. Again, language is going to be another layer that you need to pay attention. In some cases, that is not going to be as localized as you would think. And even if you are going to be in the US, especially in the driver segment, you are going to have a lot of Spanish speaking drivers. You are going to have Hindi speaking drivers. You are going to have Punjabi speaking drivers. So you require a lot more, and they just cannot understand English. So that's a huge factor in the TMS space. Might not be as big a factor in the ERP space. It's all good, but the firm does not cover the entire globe. Yeah, exactly. So that's the same comment that we had before, that this is a very regional solution. Contract and long-term rate management still needs improvement. So definitely their contract management capabilities, again, those would be, in my mind, slightly more enterprise grade capabilities. Either you are going to find them in the upper mid-market solution or enterprise solution. They just don't have that. So this is where you get the layers in terms of what you're going to get and what you're not going to get. All right, now I can take some comments.
Well, obviously this product is very sophisticated. It has a lot of algorithms built in and automates a ton of the functionality. but it appears to be targeted at the U.S. market only, right? It's
For
not
the most
an
part, yes.
international type product, but I mean, hey, any product that's targeted at U.S. market is got a pretty big target market.
Yeah, I mean, kind of agree with what you said, Andy. It's looks like a lot of really great functionality, but again, I always go back to understanding what are we trying to do? Why are we looking at this in terms of a solution? It's like, I know, sound like a broken record, right? But I think the constant reminders come because every day I'm talking to folks that have not understood that when they're selecting some of these tools, and I see the aggravation throughout the organization because of that. So for me, it's kind of goes back to what I see on an ongoing basis and why it's so important because, and Sam, I think you hit it earlier, the demo looks great until we realize, oh, we do need the ability to track, multiple SKUs on one shipment. Like, oh, that's a big problem for us, or nope, no big deal. And sometimes we forget to ask those very simplistic questions. We take it for granted that it has that functionality until we're sitting in an implementation meeting and saying, well, what about this? And everybody looks at each other and says, well, we never talked about that. You never said you needed to do that. So.
Well, it's like we always say, speak to references, but it's not just that. It's documenting and understanding your critical and unique requirements and confirming they can do those things. Yeah. We get so lost in the noise of an ERP sales demo or a TMS sales demo that we forget to focus on what's really important.
Could not agree more, guys. Great points. Any more comments, Dave? No. Awesome, guys. That's it for today. If you joined for the first time, this was part of our industry series for which we meet every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern. For this year, this was the last session, so we are not going to be meeting anymore. For this year, I'll see you all in the new year.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, guys. And New Year. I cannot thank our guests enough for coming on the show, for sharing their knowledge and journey. I always pick up learnings from our guests, and hopefully you learned something new today. If you want to learn more about Dave Chrysler, head over to thechrysler.club. It's THECRYSLER.CLUB. If you want to learn more about Andy Pratico, head over to ESSoft.com. It's ESSOFT.com. Links and more information will also be available in the show notes. Also, don't forget to subscribe and spread the word among folks with similar backgrounds. If you have any questions or comments about the show, please review and rate us on your favorite podcasting platform or DM me on any social channels. I'll try my best to respond personally and make sure you get help. Thank you, and I hope to get you on the next episode of the WBS Podcast.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.